All right, it's 11:01. We're starting a minute late. There's still a couple of people coming in. I just put the link to the agenda in the chat box. It's in there a couple of times for the people that just appeared momentarily or a moment ago. There is not really anything on the agenda other than there's one announcement that we won't meet in August because we're all gonna see each other at the Koha conference in Round Rock, right? Everybody's gonna be there, right? Right. I think I see at least two people here who I know will be there. I don't know about anybody else. Um, but that's the only thing on the agenda. So if anybody has anything they want to talk about, we can talk about that. Uh, since there's nothing on the agenda, why don't we start with just going around the Zoom and introducing ourselves. So I'll start. I'm George Williams. I am the Next Search Catalog Coordinator at Northeast Kansas Library System. And I've been a member of koha-US since kind of since the beginning. I was at the first conference in Wenatchee, Washington in 2014. So this will be a long time that I've been participating in this. And I'll just go with who's on my screen. So Jason, you're next.
I'm Jason Raba. I'm the Seek and Find Coordinator at the Southeast Kansas Library System, and I too have been involved with koha-US since before it was koha-US. So,
Michelle, you're next.
Hi, I'm Michelle Spinney, and I'm Member Service Manager at the CLAMS Library Network, and we've been on since February 27th, 2023. A year and a half now.
Bob, you're on my screen next.
Bob Bennhoff, I'm the Aspen Cat Services Manager. That's a consortia located in Colorado. I'm also this year's koha-US president, so that's why I was saying I'll definitely be at the conference in person. My attendance is mandatory. We used the branch version of Koha for a while, but now has become something else. But we've been on the community version since 2019.
Renee, you're next on my screen.
I'm Renee Palermo, the Systems Director at Ocean State Libraries in Rhode Island. I will be the only OSL employee representing at the koha-US next month, which is unfortunate because I probably know the least about koha of anyone else on staff. That's it.
We can fix that.
That's good.
Charlie, you're next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Charlie Arthur, Technical Services Coordinator at SLO County Public Libraries in California. We've been with Koha for 2 years now, so we're fairly new as well.
Cool. Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Barrette, Member Services Coordinator at Ocean State Libraries. And I think Renee mentioned we've just been on Koha since last May.
Misty.
Hi, Misty Allen from Weber State University in Utah. We've been with Koha for a couple of years, but I just barely found this group, so this is my first time meeting all of you.
Cool. I was just at the MPLA conference in Salt Lake. I don't know if I met you there or not.
I did not attend that one, nope.
Next person on my screen is Sheri.
Hello, I'm Sheri Waite from the Marshall Public Library. It's part of the Library Consortium of Eastern Idaho. I'm
Pocatello.
Yeah, there you go. Idaho, go Idaho. I'm part of a consortium of about 24 libraries. They're all independently run, independently cataloging items. So we just have a little problem with our quality control and our cataloging records. But we'll do the best we can. We joined Koha in 2020. It was like right during the pandemic, so that was fun. That's it.
Cool. I grew up in Idaho Falls, so I know exactly where
Oh,
your
yeah,
library is.
nice.
I've been there before lots. Chris is next on my screen. And he just disappeared.
Hey everyone, I'm Christopher Davis. I'm with Lincoln County Library Services up in Newport, Oregon, and we're a consortium as well. Think of the state library, but on a county level. So we have a bunch of different ways that we're helping libraries, from courier all the way to complete. We could almost completely run another library, and everywhere in between. So anyway. Happy to be here. We have all the same problems too, and the same joys.
Next on my screen, it's good to see you, Christopher. I haven't seen you in a long time. So.
Yes, it's been a journey, but it's good to see you too, George. Thank you.
And then the last person on my screen is Joel.
Hi, I'm Joel Sass. I'm the koha coordinator, administrator for the Plum Creek Library System in Minnesota. And we've been on koha since 2012. And yeah, I was around in the early days too. Just getting back in touch with the community again.
Yeah, it's you and Chris I haven't seen in ages, so it's good to see you back.
Okay, thanks. Good to see you too.
So usually we just talk about whatever anybody wants to talk about. Sometimes people send in suggestions for things to talk about, and sometimes not. So what do people want to talk about today that has to do with library consortia? Is anything exciting going on in your library? Is there anything you got questions about? Is there anything that you need help with?
I'm excited that the upgrade got pushed back.
My comment to Bywater, when they pushed it back, I sent Nate an email or a message on Slack saying, I'm happy that it got pushed back, and that because my fear was that it was going to happen, that I would be in the middle of the conference in Round Rock if they did all the upgrades in August. And now my concern is that it's going to be during the international conference in September when I'm in Montreal, is when they'll do that now. So
now I do think it would behoove them to not do that, because I think a lot of the developers will be at that conference. So maybe they'll work around their own schedule. But I know some of the bugs I'm tracking are getting worked through, so I'm feeling better about the things than I was a couple weeks ago.
I've been testing our jQuery and CSS to make sure they work in the new development. We have a test server and it's been upgraded already. So
yeah, that's where we noticed fun things like we couldn't access patrons unless you were a super user. That was a small problem that is being addressed.
That seems problematic, yeah.
This was problematic.
Yeah, the one that I was most concerned about got patched, so, and it just passed QA this morning about patron searches not working if you have library limitations set. So I'm feeling better about it already.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. That was the big one that was well, that won't work. we cannot operate with that unfixed. So that moving its way nicely through community. But yeah, I know some of our jQuery is broken and all that, so we've got some more work to do there.
Christopher Brannon and I did a video about changes, and if you have embedded links to reports, the report URLs change, so those embedded links need to change. And We did a video on it. I don't know if it's been released yet or if it is coming this week or next week or last week. I just show up to the videos. I don't do any of the work on recording them. But I can check on that and see.
I think I had some jQuery that I got from one of your older videos, George, to bypass the used, to go directly to the use saves report screen, and that I think stopped working. So I'll have to look at it.
Yes, the URL has changed. I noticed that too.
That should be easy fix then.
It's a really easy fix, and once I finalize it, I'll update the wiki if it's on the wiki. If it's not on the wiki, then oh, and April Hernandez has joined us now from Latah County Library, another Idaho person. So I don't think April has ever been to one of these meetings, but usually right now, April, we don't have an agenda. We're just, we didn't have anybody suggest anything for the agenda. So we're just talking about what people want to talk about. So if you have any questions, feel free to speak up. This is fine. I hope to get Andrew to come. Okay. Is there anything else anybody's excited about with the upgrade? Or any changes you're concerned about? So.
Here, there's a rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, as rumors go, that the suggested title portal on Aspen will be getting a new function where the patron who placed the suggestion will automatically get that book once it comes in, like it'll be put on hold for them once it gets in or something. I don't know if I
think that's a change in Koha, and I would imagine if the API is written right, it would affect Aspen too. And I know that that's in the, I'm almost certain that's in the release notes.
Yeah, it's only if, for Koha at least, it's only if you work it through acquisitions. So like there has to be an order attached to it to be able to place the hold from the purchase suggestion. I know there's another bug out there that's trying to make it independent of the acquisitions module besides purchase suggestions, but yeah, because we don't use acquisitions. It was exciting until I realized that.
Okay, no worries. Well, I've told people it's a rumor, so.
Yeah, you can tell them it was a fake rumor.
Fake news.
or you can tell them to start using acquisitions.
I'll have to push acquisitions.
It looks like Michelle did find that video I was trying to look for. So that is out there on how to change the links. It's not very difficult. It's just for me, the issue is if I've got like I don't know, I've got links embedded in 50 different pages, and I've got links in, when you run a report, it links to a different report, and all those links need to be changed. And they're not changes that you can make until after they're not changes that work until after the upgrades. So I can't start making the changes now because they won't work until after the upgrade.
So one question I had with the reports and the link changes, our director, oh God, what was it? There was something about the way the param part of the URL is coded. And I think the way it is, it's really something else in like URL speak, something that, Renee, do you remember Steve talking about that at all? No. Trying to remember exactly what it was, but is there any changes to like the ampersand params part of the URL?
I'm not, I don't think so, but I'm not sure. Generally, the way that I plan on doing it is I plan on just running the report and then copying the new URL. So I'm not gonna, Christopher is gonna use a search and replace, and most of the stuff he's got is in embedded pages, and he's just gonna use a search and replace to replace those parts. But I'll probably, test each one, make sure it works, and then just copy the URL. Because some of them I've been, thinking about updating and changing the way those reports work anyway. So for me, it'll be more revisions than just changing the report.
I think I remember what it was. It was like if you've copied a URL that where you already selected some parameters like runtime parameters, the and param part, the way it's encoded, it's actually the character for a like a line break. So when you paste that URL into an email in certain conditions, the URL comes in on 2 lines and it's not a real clickable link.
Right, I can see that being an issue. And the way I would probably deal with that is to type a word and then add the link to the word in the email.
Yeah, I think that's luckily most of the time in like Outlook or the new Outlook web app, it kind of does that for you automatically. It puts the text in instead of the actual URL. So most of the time.
Okay. I don't use Outlook, so that might be why I might not have encountered that issue. So this is not specifically Koha related, but I just read an interesting article about how Switzerland is trying to get all government agencies to adopt open source software. Legally, require them to use open source software, and any software they write for any government agency has to be released as an open source. That they have to share the code. So I thought that was interesting. And it's kind of tangentially related to Koha. Is there anything in the new version that people are really excited about? Well, and if we don't have anything to talk about, we don't have to keep talking. That's always an option.
I was just looking at my notes. One thing
notes.
Consortial related that I'm excited to try out is the holds queue transport cost matrix relationship is supposed to be improving. So like previously the holds queue only checked the transport cost matrix once, and they're supposed to supposedly the logic is improved, so it continuously checks the matrix and routes those holds a little bit better. So I'm excited to try that out and see if it works. The other thing interesting is the way they're loading items that have records that have a lot of items on them. They've truncated that into data tables. So like if there's 100 items, you're only seeing the first 20, so the page loads faster. And I'm not sure how that's going to play for us, but hopefully people, it's going to be an education thing. I've got to make sure my people realize that they're not seeing everything in those item holding tables anymore, unless they change the number of items displaying. Yeah.
Do you have a lot of tables? Do you have a lot of records with more than 20 items?
Yeah, I would say that anytime we get a new bestseller, it's going to have more than 20 copies. Our magazines are the ones that are going to be the most affected, but
Mhm.
we've already got those split off by branch, so it's not as big a deal.
Consortia wise, I like the hold expiration being a something you can set in circulation instead of globally. So not only can we set that by branch, we can set that by patron and item type as well.
Right. Chris Davis is asking a question. What problems are your consortiums encountering because preferences are global instead of per library? That's one of the things that I think has improved a lot about Koha since I started using it in 2012, is that many of the global system preferences have been shunted over to the circulation rules. So I think any changes in those directions aren't problems, they're improvements. You know, with this one, with moving the hold expiration date, there's still a global system preference, isn't there? But then you have the ability in the circ rules to override it on a branch by branch basis. So that's an improvement. So Michelle says frameworks we can't use. Well, you can talk, you can explain that.
Yeah, for us it's frameworks. Yeah. We do centralized cataloging, so only the central office can edit full bib records. So the libraries can only enter FASTAD, and that's all they can work with. So we have to put everything into the FASTAD, and they can only use that one record to make every single record.
Right.
So it's a little annoying for them, but they've gotten used to it. And so we want frameworks we want to be able to create a framework like for a serial and a bib and sometimes a DVD on its own and sometimes a combo pack and stuff. So there's a ton of frameworks we'd want to use.
And that's
I
a
will-
permission issue. Because you can do that, right? You just don't want to give them full permissions.
Right. Yeah. So they can only access the FASTAD. So if we could limit more than just the FASTAD framework, that would help.
I've said that it would be nice if there was the ability to create more than one FASTAD framework. But I've never done anything to fund that, or it's not that big of a deal for us. So I've never worried about funding that or anything.
Well, if the granular cataloging permissions were fully funded, that we would be able to use all the frameworks because we wouldn't have to limit them to the FASTAD. Because if for our permissions with that bug is that people could work on the record at a certain level, and then we could add different levels to that singular bib. So each record could have its own different level of cataloging. So if that were funded, the framework issue would no longer be in it.
That makes
Jason,
sense.
is that that's on our list for the development vote, I think, right? Yeah, so I thought so. At some point, you'll have an opportunity to vote on that or something else if you're a koha-US member.
How much is that? The goal is 15,000 and we've already raised, and Bywater has 10,000 in commitments. So that's not bad. Only 5,000 left to go.
We
Or-
budgeted about 4,000 for that, so we're hoping that if something like that were selected, we could, negotiate that last 1,000 to be donated in kind.
Cool.
Worth a shot anyway.
That makes sense. Well, Jason posted an enhancement request, a bug for have the ability to add more than one fast add framework. Oh, I must have liked that one enough that I'm the one that created that one. So when in 20, it wasn't even that long ago, and I just don't remember it at all. But yeah, it would be nice
back to Christopher's question. I often find that whenever I say something's a global setting, it ends up not being that big of a deal for the library. And they get along just fine, but we do like to offer these opportunities so there's more customization. But I think for a lot of these things, most libraries can operate with something that's just kind of the maybe is not their first preference, but it still works. But so I don't know that we've seen a ton of problems, but it is good to offer. It's more of a nightmare administratively, the more circ rules get complex, which is why we don't let our libraries do their own circ rules. Because if they look at them, they just get really confused and mistakes can be made. So but we like to be able to give them as much power as possible to choose their own policies for these things.
The last time I was at a library where the people could, libraries could edit their own circ rules, somebody accidentally copied all of their circ rules to another library. It happened a couple of times before we took that permission away from the person, from the people that were doing that. So that's why we don't give people the ability to edit their own circ rules, although that's changed now too, where people can, there's a permission to only allow people to edit their own circ rules. So that's changed over time.
I believe this is a bug, but is anyone else having an issue logging onto the Koha test server? I'm forgetting the name of the bug, but I'm pretty sure I asked about it, but I just haven't heard any updates about it since a couple weeks ago, I want to say.
I couldn't get in this morning.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the Bywater's demo site, or?
Yeah. Well, it's what I test. Like if I enable something, I want to test it on the Koha site. But
You mean the sandboxes?
No, not the sandboxes. Like the site itself, like the test site. I don't know what else to call it.
It looks like maybe the password on the Bywater's demo site changed or something. It's not letting me in either.
Yeah, I'm there right now and it's not letting me in.
Yeah. Oh, it's a bug 36424. Put it in the chat.
Cool.
I just wondered if anyone heard anything new, if they had that in as a ticket. I know they're working on it. I just wondered if,
Yeah, we have our own specialized sandbox. So we can test with our data and our particular settings. So it is an additional expense, but I don't think it's too unreasonable. So it might be something to consider. So because while the demo site would be useful to do some testing just with our particular settings and stuff, by the time you got everything all set up with that, it might refresh and you lose all that work. So might be, yeah. I don't think we're paying a ton a year for a test server. I think it's like $1,000.
yeah, it's pretty. It's not that bad. Okay, cool. I'll try that. I'll try the sandbox. Thank you.
Yeah, for testing, we have a test server, but I occasionally go to the sandbox if it's something in a new version. And I use the Bywater demo from time to time. When I was training, when we were getting ready to move to Koha years and years ago. One of the Bywater people told me, just go ahead and try and break the demo site. And I did once, but the nice thing about it is it refreshes every 6 hours. So I locked everybody out of the demo site for about 4 hours one afternoon. So I was very proud of myself.
I'm still have to get to that level. I haven't done that yet, so give me time.
It was really easy. I just turned on the IP matching so that you could only log in from a matched IP address. And I just put in random numbers. So there was no IP that matched it. So it was kind of a simple way to shut everything down.
George, I have a question. Have you come up with a way to tame the circ rules matrix? You know, the one that's like 7 miles wide.
Yeah.
If you have some links to that stuff, I'd be interested because it's really.
I've been working on some new stuff that there's, the most recent version of my stuff is on the Koha wiki.
Okay.
And let me see if I can get a link to it. But yes, I do have some jQuery that turns the really, really, really wide circulation rules matrix and narrows it down. But there have been improvements on that. Lucas at not Southeast, Jason's at Southeast. Lucas is at Bywater. Added some stuff to it for Bob, for Click that improves it, and maybe Bob can show that off.
Yeah, I'll pull it up in a second. It's nice because it just creates buttons so you can display what you want to display, and then those can be toggled off and on. So I will.
That would be what's really nice because there's probably half those columns that we don't use. So navigating through them every single time I make a change it's easy to make mistakes that way too.
The wiki is super slow for me today.
So this is what it looks like. So we've got everything in yellow is showing and everything is red is not showing. And if you click on it, it'll pop that in there and you can update it. And then it's really easy to, if you decide you start using one system preference more than another, it's really easy to go in there and everything is just by the title of how it displays. So you just type that in for what you want to see, and then it'll have it display, but it makes it so we've still got a little bit of sideways to go here, but not nearly as much as when an additional 12 things are displaying.
So you get that list of columns and you can just toggle them from yellow to red, turn them off.
Yeah, the only thing that can be a pain is if somebody has a ton of circ rules and these things are toggled off, you have to go every time it refreshes after you submit a circ rule change, you have to do it again. So, but all I would do in that situation is just go to the jQuery and just toggle it on for that, and then I can turn it off later.
Okay. So Lucas set that up for you?
Yeah, I can. I'll find it and I'll I can't really post it, and it's probably too long for the chat, but I can stick it somewhere.
Okay.
So I've made a couple of modifications. So let me share my screen if I can find the right button. I've still got this in testing mode. I haven't finished it yet. But I've got more or less the same thing. It looks similar, but what I did is I've got a button that says show all, and one that says just the defaults, and one that shows just the things actually related to circ, one that will show just the things that are related to fees, one that limits it just to request issues, and one for suspensions, which we don't use at all. But I also have a button up here that if I want, I can remove that column from the left-hand side.
Yeah, I used your older jQuery for that. It hides the column, but it doesn't move the matrix.
Yeah, and that's probably why it's out of date. That's one of the big advantages of the changes that Lucas made to that code is that you don't have to go through and number the columns. He's got it set up so you can get the column headings by name. But I can't even get the wiki to load right now. I know that Thomas in the
I'm on the main page right now.
Yeah, I know there have been some issues with the wiki, and that they've done some updates to the wiki code, and I know that there were some issues, and I know that Thomas on Mattermost and in the Koha chat was talking about changes and problems that the wiki's been undergoing. But right now I can't get it to load at all. So
Okay.
once I've got this all finalized and it's working on the most recent update, Christopher and I might do a video about it, or at the very least, I'll find a place to post the code for the most recent update.
How stable is your? My director and I really like your red, white, and blue theme.
Oh, yeah, that's working just fine on the.
She's actually considering asking to go to that because she just likes it so much better than just the shades of green, because the contrast is really, really good between the blue and the red.
The red, white, and blue is if that's on the Koha demo, the koha-US demo site.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's changes that's I think Christopher Brannon made changes to the my code.
Okay.
Because once you have that CSS, all you have to do is change the colors in the root command. I don't know if anybody we might be leaving people behind. Let me go to staff.koha-us.org and log in there. So this is the red, white, and blue theme that Christopher Brannon added to the koha-US. So it's, blue up here. Changed a lot of these. Mine uses the colors from our logo to replace the basic Koha green. And I'm trying to think, I didn't post that on the Koha wiki. I think all of this, it's all CSS.
So your stuff is at Hopper Dietzel.
I thought it was at my website, but I can't find it here. So
Okay.
I'm not sure where it is, but I post a lot of this stuff that's too big or too weird for the Koha wiki. I think I might have just put that in a GitHub repository.
Hey, George, in your page there that you were just on, can you send me the link to that first one? Where it was restrict patrons by certain sorry to derail you there, but
That's okay. Restrict
very
base,
interesting
yeah.
to me. Yeah.
Yes, let me find the chat box.
Your thing is on there too. It's under the add branding one. That's what you're talking about right now. Add local branding.
Oh, there it
staff
is.
interface.
Yeah, so that's here too. I just can't read it. It's too hard when you're looking for things and you're talking at the same time to find the right things. But yeah, the branding part is all CSS. And I've just got a list there of all of the steps that I took to build that, followed by the whole set of code that creates that different color scheme. And so when like when Christopher wanted to change the background colors, he didn't want the next search catalog colors. All he had to do was go in and change the colors in this first part of the CSS, which is, these root colors.
Okay.
And once you change those to the colors you want, they should apply to all the different places that you see on here. And we did a video about that in the koha-US channel.
I'll look for that on is the every other Thursday.
Yeah, it's one of those videos. So
Okay.
oh, and now it's gonna autoplays, drowning everybody else out.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Joel. Everybody's welcome to all that stuff. Anything that I write is open, so anybody can take it, do whatever you want with it, break it, make it yours. I don't care.
Challenge accepted.
Make it better. That's the easy part.
Does anyone here use the label maker plugin by any chance for Koha?
A couple of our libraries do. I think it was the one that was written by Kyle. Paul?
I believe so.
Yeah. So we have like 2 or 3 libraries that use those old Epson LQ590 dot matrix printers because they print the spine and pocket label. It's that 2 different labels. So we had to customize a particular size for them, and and then we also have libraries that use like Dymo printers. And so those are like the 1 inch by 1.5 spine label only. So Lucas added extra buttons next to our item records. So like one is print spine and pocket label, and that does the label, the plugin. And then the other one is print spine label, and that's just for like, it actually points to the quick label printer for the Dymos. So there's the built-in quick spine label.
Yeah, we're trying to move away from like zebra printers. Our IT is very enthusiastic about that possible change, and we're trying to use something with like just like a regular printer and with Avery labels. Is anybody using that by any chance? Like anything to do with Avery, and if it's given them any issues?
We don't use the label plugin, but we use just the regular Koha label system with Avery labels at a lot of the libraries. My experience is that once they're set up, it usually isn't a problem. The problem is usually that initial setup if the printer isn't printing right. If you have to adjust the printer profiles, then every time the printer profile will help you, like if the pages don't, the printer profile helps you with any eccentricities with the printer. And so if you set up something with one printer profile and then that printer goes away and you get a new one, then using that same profile is probably not going to work.
Okay.
or not work as well. Printers are kind of a pain.
Mortal
Printers are
enemies.
evil, according to our former technology coordinator. And he puts a TM in at the end of that. Printers are evil, TM.
Yeah. And copy machines.
Oh, they're the devil.
Yeah.
Well, they're just big printers anyway, so.
If I didn't need them so much, I'd say throw them all away.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay,
So
cool.
it sounds like, Charlie, you're doing batch labels. So you're trying to get a whole bunch of labels on a sheet and then print it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm still in the setup section. I'm still setting it up. And so far, I haven't had any successes, but that's just lighting a fire under me. So I'm just like more determined than ever. I will win.
When the label maker works right, it's awesome. But when there's a problem and you got to go in there and figure out how to fix it, that's when everything goes to hell. So
Yeah, I think the libraries that actually do like batch sheet labels, they do them like in-house, like they do them outside of Koha. And pretty much all the labels that printed through Koha are the ones that have the either the Dymo or those Epson things, and they're just doing it on the spot. They have slapped on the book once it's cataloged. So
yeah, we're trying to give all our branches access to spine label printing so that it's not so backed up at the central location.
my biggest issue in working with the label creator in a consortial environment is that if somebody creates a label batch, goes through and scans like 50 books, those are limited to the access to those batches is limited to the library that logged in and created those. But all of the templates and all of the layouts are available for everybody. And so the issue that I have is when a library goes in and creates a new one, like maybe they've decided to change the size of their labels and they bought, or it's usually the way it works is somebody accidentally ordered the wrong Avery labels. And then they go in and so they go, okay, well, I can just create a new layout. And then they go in and they create that. And the issue is that they never give it a name that makes sense. That it ends up getting buried in that list of 30 different layouts.
Yeah.
And so we have default 1, default 2, default 3. It'd be nice if the people that create if you're at the Leavenworth Library and you create a layout that only the Leavenworth staff can see that layout. That would be a handy feature in Koha. Because the way it is now, we've got like 50 badly named layouts and 50 badly named templates and a bunch of stuff like that. So
Yeah, I wrote some code to default. So like, and we don't have like expansive use, so the code is very brief, but if anybody wants it, I can put it in the chat. So based on which branch you're logged in as, it defaults to a certain template.
okay.
So for Iola, that's always going to the Demco template because that's what we use. And we do use both ways. So we've got the label maker set up to print sheets and also set up to print one-offs because we have Zebra printers and we have the sheets as well. Most people, I do have a lot of libraries that just do go out to Word and type them up themselves though. So
Don't want that.
yeah, it leads to errors. And I finally convinced our in-house staff to start using them for our special rotation labels, and it speeds up the process a lot because you put them in a batch, you hit print, and it shoots out all the labels at once. And no extra typing unless you need to like adjust for size or whatever. So it helps with errors for sure.
Until about 5 years ago, we had a library that was using a typewriter to create their labels. So a manual typewriter, not even an electric.
I can actually respect that.
Yeah.
That used to be my job here. When I was a student worker, I had to come back and type on the typewriter. It was a hoot.
for her, it wasn't an issue of the issue was that she'd been doing it for so long on the manual typewriter, she didn't want to learn anyway. So I think she was 83 when she retired.
I figured out the magic button on our typewriter that reprinted things. So whenever I got a James Patterson, I just hit the button and it would type it for me like magic.
I don't want to add anything else to the agenda because it's almost 10 and I have to dip out, but this was very helpful. Especially the sites in the chat. Thank you for that.
I think all of that gets added to the comments in the video, doesn't it? All the links, all the chat information. I'm not sure. I don't. I guess Christy is the person that does that now, isn't it? The secretary. There's nothing my family enjoys more than when I turn on the Roku and put it on YouTube, and there's like a new koha-US video, and I go, "Oh, we should watch this. It's the acquisitions group. I missed that meeting." And they will all leave the room immediately. So it's a great way to clear the living room. And then I can watch 5 minutes of it, and then once they're all gone, I can flip over to something, really good that they will complain about more vociferously than a koha meeting. So. Michelle, we have a library that uses calligraphy. Oh my God.
I have a question. Gang.
Sure.
Can you tell me, I worked in a library system where we had RFID and the other libraries did not, but what is there anything, any suggestions anybody can say the library or the system that's working in now currently, like one of the libraries has one of the systems that's migrating in has RFID and the others do not. But maybe I kind of got an idea. Sorry, this is an evolving.
Koha has the self-service checkout built in, but these other libraries that have RFID, of course, they have the other, like the vendor provided, the RFID vendor provided self-checkout. So has anybody ever had any problems with that? I know that typically they're just a SIP device is how Koha sees it, but has anybody ever been able to get Koha to read RFID to do the checkout without a third-party client, third-party checkout?
koha-US, the last development that got voted on was to do for the self-checkout to better read a batch of barcodes submitted like you would in an RFID type situation. So that is going to be part of this upcoming release. So I know the code for that isn't perfect, but at least it's a start there. And there might be some ways to build off that to further enhance exactly what you're talking about, where you could you wouldn't need to use like a biblioteca checkout machine. You could use the Koha self checkout and still have RFID. So McKinney Public Library is the one that had the idea. So they're going to be putting that into reality pretty soon here. So we'll kind of see what their feedback is.
I think, it would be great to have a standardized self-checkout interface across all the system, but it would also be great because it would save you a lot of money. Because you always have to pay for those self-checkouts. And
our consortia uses the self-checkout a lot, particularly in a place that you would never be able to for them, and that's schools, because they don't always have somebody in there to do that. So we just get them set up with a self-checkout, and that's a free option. They just have to provide the equipment, and they're able to much more securely get things checked out to students than they would if they were actually just giving them access to the staff side of Koha.
I do have one library that has some RFID stations, but they're on a third-party system that, and they use SIP. And the one issue that we have had in the past is there have sometimes been issues with SIP on those machines when we do an upgrade. And so that's one of the, we almost always have been doing upgrades on Saturdays. And so on Sunday, I will go out often to the 5 libraries that are open. And they are one of the 5 libraries that are open on Sundays. And I will go out there just to make sure that if there are any SIP issues, those are addressed. That hasn't been so much of a problem. And I don't think I've had a problem with that since like the year after I moved to Kansas. So it's been like, 6, 7 years since there's been a problem like that caused by an upgrade.
SIP, you can't live with it. You can't live without it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've definitely had that same issue. We had a vendor that we couldn't get it working, and I'm pretty sure the issue was with Koha, but the tech for the vendor was so rude that the director of that library eventually was like, "We just don't want to work with you anymore. We're just throwing away your equipment," because yeah, even though I don't think the fault was on their end, they just they were not kind about the issue. And those are the worst, when something like that with an update goes wrong, and then you're just like relaying logs between 2 people who don't, 2 vendors that don't think it's their fault. Always my least favorite thing to do. I gotta run because I got another meeting, but I put a link to the koha-US conference registration. I'm guessing if you're not planning on going to Texas in person yet, you're probably not going to, but we will be broadcasting just about the whole conference online, so you can still sign up.
That's a much better note to end on than we have vendors that hate each other. And so I think the last thing I'll say is, just as a reminder, we won't meet next month on Zoom. It's not the week of the conference, but it's the week after that. But I think everybody, we kind of don't have any of these meetings during the month of the conference. So we'll see you all back again here in September. And it was nice seeing everybody. It's nice seeing old faces, and we'll see you all later. I'm going to stop the recording.
See you, everybody.
Stop recording. There it is.